Hello and welcome. I'm Sanjay Pinto. The electoral drubbing and the 2G case may have left the DMK on a sticky wicket. But that's not all. The AIADMK government's reverse swing has put itself on a hat-trick. After the news secretariat, the wicket that's fallen today is the Anna Centenary Library in Koturpuram. This dream project of Karunanidhi will soon be converted into a multi-speciality hospital for children. And all those 12 lakh books will be moved to the DPI campus on College Road, which the government says is a better location because the Conimara Library is just a little more than a stone's throw away. AIADMK circles say this is a master stroke by Amma. DMK sources say there's no method in the madness. The big question tonight, reversing decisions, is it the government's prerogative or political vendetta? We are joined live in our studio by the DMK spokesperson and MP TK Silangovan, the managing trustee of the Citizens Alliance for Sustainable Living, Mr. Devasahayam, also a former IAS officer, the associate editor of the Telegraph, GC Shekhar, and Dr. G.R. Ravindranath, who's the General Secretary of the Doctors Association for Social Equality, and of course by our reporters Pratiksha Ramkumar and Salim. But first, a look at our headlines. After the new Secretariat complex is a turn off to the Anna Centenary Library to make way for a hospital, this one for children. An upset Karunanidhi sounds skeptical over the logistics of relocation, urges Tamil scholars to take up the cause. Amma transfers several top IAS officers, Rajiv Ranjan to be the new Electricity Board chief. The DMK's top brass flies to Delhi, hopeful of a homecoming for Kanimuri, the judgment on a bail plea to be delivered tomorrow. Animal cruelty hits Chennai yet again. Dogs are shot again in a space of 4 days, this time on a college campus. And as monsoon showers continue to lash the state, a low-pressure trough is moving towards Tamil Nadu. And a look at our national headlines as well. A London court rules that Julian Assange can be extradited to Sweden for questioning over allegations of sexual abuse. Omar Abdullah says the Armed Forces Special Powers Act will be withdrawn from some parts of Jammu and Kashmir. A baby dies in West Bengal after acid is used instead of antiseptic during a delivery. The hospital orders an inquiry. The oil minister backs oil companies which want to raise petrol prices by nearly 2 rupees a litre. Air India defers pilot training for Dreamliner by a month. Is the management buying time to resolve the crisis? Jagan Mohan Reddy is summoned by the CBI on Friday in connection with the Janardhan Reddy illegal mining case. And as Prime Minister Manmohan Singh heads for Cannes, he calls the Eurozone crisis a big worry and that more needs to be done. And our top story today. It was billed as South Asia's largest library, but the new AIADMK government has decided to convert the Anna Centenary Library into a multi-speciality hospital for children. The previous DMK regime's pet project will be moved to the DPI campus on College Road. The rationale? Because it will be closer to the Conimara Public Library, or so says the government. This is a second mega project that in fact has been overturned. Salim looks at the new trend.
This site hitting the headlines was actually chosen by the ADMK government during 2001-2006 for the construction of a new secretariat complex. When the DMK came to power, it constructed a new library claimed to be one of the largest in Asia, and it was thrown open to the public last year.
Opened with much fanfare last year by the DMK government, this sprawling library in Koturpuram with 12 lakh books, over 20,000 e-journals, an amphitheatre, an auditorium and a braille section will soon make way for hospital beds and sick children. And the existing infrastructure will be moved to the DPI campus in the vicinity of the Conimara Library. This decision by the AIADMK government has shocked the man who was behind the 172 crore rupee project. This is the second big project of the previous government that is being overturned. One of the first few major decisions of the new AIADMK government was to convert the new Secretariat complex into a super speciality hospital on the lines of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
Usually I come every day to this library and take lot of books and study, and I was the best performer in TCS employee. I'm getting lot of IT related books and all networking books over here. So I'm getting lot of informations. So this is one of the best library.
இத மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபெசிலிட்டியான லைப்ரரி யாருக்குமே எங்கேயும் கிடைக்காது. ஸோ இதை நீங்கள் மல்டி ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டி ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் எங்கேனாலும் கட்டலாம். ஆனால் இது லைப்ரரிக்காகவே கரெக்டாக தேர்ந்தெடுத்து கரெக்டாக அந்த மாதிரி ஸ்ட்ரக்சரில் பண்ணுறதா இது பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஸோ இது ஆசியாவிலே மிகப்பெரிய லைப்ரரி, ரெண்டாவது லைப்ரரி அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. ஸோ மக்களுக்கு எஜுகேஷன் தான் ஃபஸ்ட்டு முக்கியம்.
This is a politics. Not a right. This is just a politics.
நான் தமிழ்நாட்டில் பிறந்ததுக்கு ரொம்ப லக்கின்னு ஃபீல் பண்ணேன். ஏன்னா இவ்வளோ பெரிய லைப்ரரி இருக்கிறதுக்கு. ஆனால் அந்த ஆசை சீக்கிரம் பொய்த்து போயிடும்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
The library also has a slice of history. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had addressed over 1,500 students from this auditorium here during her maiden visit to Chennai in July this year. Justifying the move, Chief Minister Jayalalitha in a statement says a super speciality hospital for children had not been established anywhere in the country so far, and that the new pediatric hospital would serve the purpose. The DMK is likely to challenge the move in court. In Chennai with Salim, Evelyn Matthew for Ndtv-Hindu.
So that's the big discussion and the big question tonight. In fact, let's first cut across to the DMK, which is understandably miffed, to Mr. T.K.S. Ilangovan, MP of the party and also spokesperson, who is now camping in Delhi, awaiting that homecoming of Kanimuri. Mr. Ilangovan, thank you very much for joining us. Now, your leader, Mr. Karunanidhi, has actually stopped short of reacting directly to the decision to convert the library into a children's hospital, saying it's best left to political leaders with self-respect and to poets. And interestingly, many of the writers, Sahitya Academy Award winners have responded, have condemned this. What is the DMK's official stand right now, sir?
See, this is out of desperation that he had told. It is a very monumental building, one of the biggest library in the Southeast Asia. It was a pride of the Chennai city. So when this Chief Minister decides to close that down, a library that too, that is, it was out of desperation and anger that he had expressed such views. This is utterly what I can say. I can't understand how this decision was made by the Chief Minister.
All right, Mr. Ilangovan, like the new Secretariat move, which you challenged in court, will you challenge this decision as well in court?
See, a new Secretariat building is a different question. This is a library where every section of the society will be benefited. As new Secretariat, it is okay, it is also a pride of the city, but still you cannot equate a library with an office building. A library is a library which is the pride of the city. So when a Chief Minister chooses to close a library, then that shows how her attitude.
All right. Also, to introduce our guests again, G.C. Shekhar, Associate Editor of the Telegraph, Mr. Devasayam, retired IAS officer and Managing Trustee of Sustain, and Dr. Ravindranath, who is the General Secretary of the Doctors Association for Social Equality. Thank you very much for coming into our studio. Shekhar, to you first. The DMK is being a little uncharacteristically cagey about this. Both Mr. Karunanidhi really not coming out strongly as he normally does, and even T.K.S. Ilangovan not really answering the question directly as to whether they will move the court.
I think the DMK is certain that there is going to be a backlash against the government as far as this decision is concerned. So it doesn't want to give an impression that it is opposing because it is in the opposition. All right, it knows that the public opinion will be against the government's decision because it is a very silly decision. and it's a decision that should not have been taken by the government. And see, when there is a difference between the Anna Centenary Library and the Secretariat. The Secretariat is essentially a seat of power, a symbol of power, whereas this is a temple of books. This is a temple of learning, a library. When you come and that library that is being put to use, which has become popular among students, among academicians, everybody, and suddenly the government says out of the blue, for no logic, absolutely for no logical reason, it says, I want to build a super specialty hospital here for children. I don't think even the children will or their parents will accept this decision.
Mr. Davis, I am somebody who's been in the forefront of several campaigns, especially when it comes to heritage and urban development. As a retired IAS officer yourself, do you see any rationale in this? What do you think is a rationale?
See, I will look at this in two dimensions. One is the governance dimension, one is the technical dimension. I will come to the technical dimension detail later. Governance is clearly indicates there is a major lacuna in the decision making process. God alone knows how a decision is processed, how a decision is taken.
You mean they should have had some sort of public consultation?
They should have had a discussion, number one, with experts, healthcare experts, because a very senior architect told me before I came here that if at all they manage to do this, they will not have a super specialty hospital, a super substandard hospital.
Dr. Ravindranathan, you're a doctor.
Side. Governance side, decision making process seems to be deeply flawed, and the Chief Minister does not seem to be getting any proper advice.
Okay. Dr. Ravindranathan, as a doctor, many say that the existing children's hospital in Egmore is ill-equipped, is almost in a sort of dilapidated condition, and that we could have done with something really good, and therefore she's coming up with the state-of-the-art hospital. So what's wrong? That's at least the AIDMK's point of view.
Of course, you are correct. The Egmore Children's Hospital is not, space is not enough, beds are not enough, facilities are not enough, equipments are not enough. Of course, we want to have more pediatric hospitals, that too super specialty children's hospital. So we appreciate, we welcome the decision of the state government as well as the CM's decision. But this Centenary Library is not a suitable place for super specialty hospital.
You belong to the CPI, so in a sense you're also an ally of the AIDMK here. Are you speaking as a member of the CPI as well as an ally of the AIDMK, and will you probably try and prevail upon your ally to probably do a rethink on this?
Actually, we are not any alliance in this local
election. Now of course, but that's a temporary sort of parting of ways.
So even if we are with alliance, we will not support that move, because it is against students' interest, it is against intellectual right. So we will not support that.
All right, let's go back to Mr. T.K. Silungovan. Mr. Silungovan, the AIDMK says it's the government's prerogative, it's the Chief Minister's prerogative to best utilize government facilities, and the existing children's hospital is so ill-equipped, and there's nothing wrong in really extending world-class medical facilities to our children ahead of Children's Day.
I don't know. I'll tell you that lady, I don't know whether she is for education or not. First she tried to demolish the Queen Mary's College in Chennai. Then she tried to demolish the Gindi Engineering College in Chennai. Now she has attempted to demolish, to change a library building. See how education is the main thing in in growth and development and in the welfare of the society.
All right, Mr. Silungovan, again, to make a distinction between this new secretariat complex, as GC Shekhar rightly pointed out, and the library here, the rationale behind the secretariat decision was that it was unsuitable for all government departments, the layout was also not proper. With the library, the government says moving it to the DPI campus will be an advantage as it's in the vicinity of the Connemara library in Egmore. What's your take?
Oh, that is, I don't know, because this library is situated in a place where there are two major institutions. One is the Anna University and the Gindi Engineering College attached to the Anna University. The next is the AC College of Technology. So that is an education, the opposite to it is the IIT, one of the pride of the Chennai city, Indian Institute of Technology. All these are situated in that area. So this claim seems to be very funny and primitive.
All right, so do you then see this as political vendetta? But then hasn't Tamil Nadu witnessed such reversals in the past? Whichever party comes to power, there is this, it goes into reverse gear in a sense.
This is not a political vendetta. We have never demolished buildings which was constructed by her. We have never changed any building which was built by her for a certain purpose. All those things we have never done. There is no question of political vendetta. This shows her mindset. I don't know how her mind is, because we have never done this. We have never stopped the schemes introduced by her. We have never even changed the names of the which was given by her during her period as Chief Minister. We have never attempted like such things so far in the administrative history of Tamil Nadu. DMK did not do it. It is not political vendetta. It is not against DMK. It is against the Tamil people. It is against the large number of readers. It is against the intellectual community.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Nilagoman. We'll let you go. We know you have to go and receive all your senior leaders who are trooping to Delhi in anticipation of some relief for Kanimuri in the courts tomorrow. Shekhar, again, TK Nilagoman making the point there that it's not really against the DMK. It's not directed against the DMK. In a sense, agreeing with what you had said earlier on the show.
Yeah, in the sense, the logic seems that there is a library, Connemara library, so it makes sense to shift this close to that library. I said the reverse is true. You already have a Connemara library in central Chennai. What is the harm in having another library in South Chennai? As he said, it is close to so many educational institutions. There are so many schools nearby. You have the Birla Planetarium nearby, where so many schools.
Virtually diagonally opposite that.
Yeah, and what is wrong in having two libraries in two different locations? And even the DPA complex, if you see, it is already crowded. There is very little space for them to develop. And the whole thing is absolutely without any reasoning, without any logic. I really don't know who has advised the Chief Minister, but I think this is like Samachir Kalvi. The public opinion will go against her, and the government will also receive a judicial slap from the court on this.
All right. Let's also, since you mentioned this point about the overcrowded nature of the DPI campus, Salim, our reporter, in fact, went to the DPI campus for an on-the-spot recce of the spot to see if you can really be able to easily transport all those 12 lakh books, whether that would be a seamless transition at all at the DPI campus. Salim?
The Anna Centenary Library is spread over 8 acres, whereas the DPA has a sprawling area of 16 acres, but it also houses Directorates of School Education Department. Now the integrated knowledge park has been planned here. Sources from the government department very clearly tell us that the DPA campus will house the new integrated knowledge park in a state-of-the-art building which will also house all the Directorates of School Education Department with modern facilities like counseling centers, training centers and EduSat center with modern studio facilities. Now the government press release very clearly say that this new integrated knowledge park is not only for the faculties but will also help students, help children to obtain knowledge beyond textbooks.
All right, thank you, Salim. Let's also go to Pratiksha Ramkumar now. Pratiksha, who covers both education and politics. Pratiksha, again, as well as health. Now, we know the Children's Hospital, we've done several stories in the past also about the pathetic state, the deplorable condition at the Children's Hospital on Halls Road and Egmore. Do you see how is the medical fraternity actually reacting to this?
Yes, we have been speaking to a lot of health experts, and as of now we have only one children's specialty hospital in the city located in Halls Road. Now this specialty hospital is first of all 60 years old, nearly 60 years old, and the hospital even today has just 500 beds. And this hospital also serves as the only referral center across the state. So definitely doctors have always found a lack in space. In fact, the main reason they say that this hospital is hugely lacking in hygiene and maintenance because of the huge inflow of patients that come. In fact, the cardiothoracic unit of this hospital has just 2 beds, has 2 operation theatres with just 2 beds. So basically they are able to conduct just 2 to 3 operations a day. And one operation theatre works as the one that leads to the larger operations, the longer operations. So basically just 3 operations get conducted, and at any point of time you find more than 400 children waiting to get their hearts operated in this hospital itself. So definitely a requirement of a larger hospital with more number of beds, more facilities is something that doctors have been asking for many years. In fact, that's why health experts say that you cannot really fault them for for bad maintenance, or even small things that go wrong in the hospital, because they say that this staff and this space cannot handle the huge inflow of patients. In fact, just last month when there was a jaundice outbreak, this hospital had to turn away so many people who actually had to be on the road waiting for dole from NGOs. So definitely doctors and health experts welcome this decision. While they're not really willing to comment on the fact that whether a library can be converted to a hospital, definitely it is a very, very welcome decision. And they say that this hospital will also require a lot of work. First of all, because the entries have to be changed, and it is going to be a children's hospital. So there's going to be a huge amount going to be having to spend on renovation and in equipment. But definitely, and they also say that this hospital will lead to recruitment of more staff. So definitely it will be a better situation for the children's hospital. Now, we have been speaking to other hospitals also where the children's ward is again understaffed and under-equipped. So they say that most of these general hospitals having about 40 to 50 beds really catering to the children's wards, and they're the most affected, especially during times like the monsoon seasons. Definitely this new hospital is a welcome decision.
All right, thank you very much, Pratiksha. Mr. Devasayam, again, as somebody who specializes in urban planning and development, when it came to the new Secretariat complex, it said it was dome-shaped, and therefore it was not going to be an easy task to actually convert that into a multi-speciality hospital on the lines of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. That at least that is a goal. Again, with this hospital, do you think, they've got it all wrong, that they have to actually convert a library into a hospital? How challenging is that going to be from an architect's point of view?
In my view, it is not only challenging, it is practically impossible. There is nothing wrong in the idea to have a super specialty hospital, but then that has to be designed from the scratch. There is a fundamental difference between this library building and the proposed super specialty. This is a highly centralized, high roof, limited building, whereas you need a hospital highly totally decentralized, highly sort of disintegrated kind of service facilities. For instance, if she is talking about 500 bed, you need 500 toilets. And they are common toilets. There are 100 other facilities you need, and the flow of a hospital is vastly different. Now, you end up converting this hospital into this thing. What actually will happen is a first-rate good library you will lose, and you will end up getting a third-rate substandard hospital.
And loss of public money.
That's why I wanted to ask you this now.
Public money, huge loss of public money.
Yes, Shekhar, here again, the government when it started off had a debt of about approximately 1 lakh crore rupees. Now you've got so much, in terms of freebies, you have to give so much away. Coming at this time, 172 crore rupees spent on this, and now to undo all that was done and again start afresh, not just to renovate the DPI campus to house these books and all the other facilities, but also to build this, yes.
They had to build new facilities there. And they totally got their priorities mixed up. You just take a drive down Chennai streets, the roads need urgent repair, they are crying for attention. You need to pour money there, you need to repair your roads, not to disturb an existing building which is already serving a certain purpose. This is not the way you do governance. This is a total misgovernance.
Just one point, she talked about knowledge park. In my view, it is a totally unconvincing argument. This place where the present library is part of the science city. A science city is a very old concept. You have a complete knowledge city and science city combined together. This is part of that. So, and then the whole area is coming a lot of young population who are very central, open ambience. DPA is just near the Kuvam river, stinks to high heavens, and you want to send one more library there. This is a very absurd decision, maybe.
Since we're completely running out of time, Dr. Ravindranath, again, when it comes to students, since you deal with students, how are the students really viewing this? Because on the one hand, even when it came to the new Secretariat complex, many believe that it was a masterstroke, that she has actually taken the wind out of the DMK sails, the fact that she's come up with a hospital. Do you believe that the rationale behind having a children's hospital here is to cater to a certain constituency in that sense, to take away, to deflect the blame in a sense?
Because this place is not suitable for that, already I told you. Because for a pediatric hospital, for a super specialty hospital, we need a maternity hospital adjacent to that place. Because most of the mother will admitted to the maternity hospital. After delivery, the baby will have some complication. For that, we have to go to the pediatric hospital. Yeah, neonatal hospital. For that, we must have hospitals with nearer place. So, Egmore is suitable for that. Already there are two hospitals, maternity as well as children's hospital. For the pediatric hospital, we can choose some places like Thambaram Sanatorium or like that. It will be more useful. Moreover, we should not centralize the library also, because we want more library in more places in Tamil Nadu.
Scattered across the city.
Yeah. Because that will be more useful for students in various places of the city.
No, you want to build a knowledge park, build it around this library. Why build it there? You already have facilities here, build it around this place. Nothing is stopping you. And you want a super specialty hospital for children, you are going to build a super specialty hospital in the new assembly complex, build one adjacent to that. They can share the same facilities like labs and the doctor housing and all the students' facilities. Everything can be shared there.
A very good point made by him. You can't have a government offices converted into knowledge park. What is DPA at the end of the day? Government offices. It must be in an academic ambience, which is where the present library is. Build the knowledge city around this, the science city is already there. So, this will be a much better decision. I hope the Chief Minister will review her decision and act sort of in the interest of the public by reversing this decision.
Right. Thank you very much, Shekhar, Mr. Devasayam and Dr. Ravindranath, also to Mr. T.K. Silongon for joining us. That's all the time we have for on this special discussion on this controversial decision. An appeal coming from the experts in the studio to the Chief Minister to perhaps review this decision. But will the last word actually rest with the court? That's the big question. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Tamil News coming up.